I want you to picture two women who went to the same college, graduated the same year, and landed jobs in the same city. Both making solid money. Both ready to level up. The first woman, Maya, just got promoted at 27. She's earning $74,000 a year. She walks into a Honda dealership and drives off in a brand new 2025 Accord. $34,000. She puts nothing down, finances it over 72 months at 7.5% interest. Monthly payment? $597. She feels good. She worked hard for this. She deserves something new. The second woman, Keisha, same age, same income, same city. She goes on CarMax and finds a 2022 Honda Accord. 40,000 miles, certified pre-owned, full warranty. She pays $19,500, puts $2,500 down, finances the rest over 48 months at 6%. Monthly payment, $399. Same car, essentially, same reliability, same commute, same everything. 10 years later, both women are 37. Maya has $47,000 in her retirement account. She's on her third new car. Her current payment is $641 a month. She feels financially okay, but never quite ahead. She keeps meaning to invest more. Life just always gets in the way. Keisha has $194,000 in her investment account. She owns her current car outright. Her monthly expenses are noticeably lighter than her friends. She maxed her Roth IRA 3 years running. She's thinking about buying a rental property. Same income, same decade, same car brand. One woman built wealth. The other built a car payment. The $198 monthly difference in payments explains only part of the gap. The real story goes much deeper. Because it was never really about the car payment. It was about everything the car payment prevented. Every dollar that never made it into an investment account. Every contribution that never got made. Every year of compound growth that never happened because the money was already spoken for. And here's what gets me when I look at this. Maya is not irresponsible. She is not reckless. She did exactly what the commercials told her to do. What her neighbors did. What the culture celebrates. She earned the new car. She could afford the payment. She moved on with her life. And 10 years later, she has $150,000 less in wealth to show for a decade of solid income. That is the trap. Not the car. The trap is that nobody ever sat you down and showed you the full math. They showed you the monthly payment. They never showed you what that same money becomes in 30 years. They showed you the new car smell. They never showed you the lifetime wealth gap. Today I'm going to show you exactly what a brand new car actually costs you. Not just what you pay at the dealership, but what you lose over time. We're going to walk through the real numbers. The hidden costs nobody puts on the window sticker. The psychology that makes this trap so easy to fall into. And what to do instead if you actually want to build wealth. Some of this will be uncomfortable if you're currently making payments on a new car. That's okay. The point isn't to shame you. The point is to make sure you never make this decision without seeing the full picture again. Let's get into it. Before I walk through the specific ways a new car destroys wealth, let me lay out the math that most people never see. Because when people decide whether they can afford a car, they look at one number, the monthly payment. If it fits in the budget, they sign. That's it. That's the entire calculation. That calculation is missing most of the picture. The monthly payment is maybe 50 to 60% of what a new car actually costs you. The rest hides in categories that don't show up on the window sticker, but drain your bank account every single month for as long as you own the vehicle. Let me break down where the money actually goes. Depreciation is the big one, and the one people understand the least. The moment a new car leaves the dealership lot, it loses somewhere between 9 and 11% of its value. You haven't made a single payment yet. You've driven 3 miles, and you're already down $3,000 to $4,000 on a $35,000 car. By the end of year 1, most new cars have lost 15 to 25% of their original value. By year 5, right around when most people finish paying off the loan, the average new car is worth 35 to 40% of what you paid for it. So you paid $35,000, you made 60 monthly payments, and now you have a car worth about $12,000 to $14,000. That is not a side detail. That is the center of the story. Then there's insurance. New cars cost more to insure than used cars. Full stop. You're required to carry comprehensive and collision coverage when you're financing, and the cost is based on the car's replacement value. The difference in annual insurance premiums between a new vehicle and a 3-year-old equivalent can easily run $600 to $1,200 per year, depending on your state and driving record. Then there's sales tax, registration fees, and dealer fees. In most states, you're paying sales tax on the full purchase price of a new car. On a $36,000 vehicle in a state with 8% sales tax, that's $2,880 on top of the purchase price, before you've added a single option or paid a documentation fee. And then there's something almost nobody accounts for: the opportunity cost. That is, what the money you spent on the car would have grown into if you'd put it somewhere else instead. Add it all together: the depreciation loss, the higher insurance, the taxes and fees, the financing interest, and the investment growth that never happened. And the true cost of a new car is radically different from the number on the window sticker. Let me show you the specific math. A new 2025 midsize sedan, let's say a Toyota Camry, runs about $29,000 to $33,000 at the dealership right now. Call it $31,000. You put nothing down, which is what most buyers do. You finance at 7% over 60 months. Your monthly payment is $614. Over 5 years, you'll pay roughly $36,900 total. And at the end of those 5 years, your car is worth approximately $11,000 to $13,000. You paid $36,900 for an asset worth $12,000. The gap, about $24,000, is gone. Not in the car, not anywhere you can access it, just gone. Now let's look at the 2022 version of the same car. Toyota Camry, 3 years old, 35,000 miles, good condition. Current market price, around $20,000 to $22,000. Call it $21,000. You put $2,000 down. Finance $19,000 at 6.5% over 48 months. Monthly payment, $453. Total paid over 4 years, roughly $23,700. And at the end of 4 years, that car, now 7 years old, with 75,000 miles, is still worth around $9,000 to $11,000. You paid $23,700 for an asset worth about $10,000. Gap of roughly $13,700. So the new car buyer's gap is $24,000. The used car buyer's gap is $13,700. That's a $10,000 difference just on the depreciation and financing math, before we even touch insurance, before we touch fees, before we touch what that money could have grown into. Now take the monthly payment difference, $614 versus $453. That's $161 per month. Over 4 years, that's $700 in additional payments for the new car. But here's the part that matters most. What if Keisha invested that $161 monthly difference instead of spending it? At an 8% average annual return, $161 per month invested over 10 years becomes approximately $29,500. Over 20 years, it becomes $95,000. Over 30 years, by the time she's in her late 50s, that $161 a month has quietly grown into roughly $237,000. $237,000 from a car payment difference that felt like nothing at the time. That is the math the dealership does not show you. That is the math that changes how you think about this decision forever. Now let's talk about something called the new car cycle. Because for most people, buying a new car is not a one-time event. It's a pattern that repeats every 4 to 6 years for the rest of their adult lives. Here's how it works. You buy a new car. You make payments for 5 years. You pay it off. The car is now 5 years old with 60 to 70,000 miles. And almost immediately, before you've had 6 months without a payment, the upgrade pull starts. The new models look a little different. Your car is showing its age. If you do this from 25 to 65, 40 years of adult earning, you will spend the overwhelming majority of your financial life with a car payment. The auto industry does not just hope this happens. They plan for it. They have engineered the entire experience, the showroom, the test drive, the new car smell, the financing office, the trade-in offer, to make sure you keep coming back every 5 years and keep signing. The average new car payment in America right now is around $735 a month, according to Experian. If you carry a car payment at that average level for 40 years, which is roughly what the cycle produces, You will send approximately $352,000 to auto lenders over your lifetime. Before interest, before insurance, before any of it. And the truly wild part is that this is treated as normal. Expected, even. Of course you have a car payment. It is one of the most expensive subscriptions you'll ever have, and most people sign up for it for life, without ever questioning whether they had to. Let me tell you about something that compounds the new car problem in a way most people never see coming. I call it the anchor effect. And this is where a new car does damage that goes far beyond the monthly payment. The moment you buy a new car, it sets a new baseline for how you see yourself. And that baseline quietly reshapes everything around it. Let's go back to Maya. When she drove that 2025 Accord home at 27, something shifted. She was the kind of person who drove a new car now. And without even thinking about it consciously, that self-image started reaching into other decisions. When she got to her apartment complex parking lot and saw her new car next to her neighbor's older one, she started feeling like maybe it was time to look at upgrading her apartment. When her friend invited her to a dinner that felt a little too casual for where she was now financially, she suggested somewhere a little nicer. When her old laptop started slowing down, she replaced it with the top-tier model, because she was the kind of person who drove a new car. None of these felt like bad decisions in isolation. Each one felt completely reasonable. But they were all downstream of that one anchor decision. The car raised her internal standard. The standard raised her spending across multiple categories. And the extra income that should have been building wealth got consumed by the lifestyle the new car quietly announced. James and Patricia in the sample story experienced this too, just in the housing version. The bigger house created pressure to fill it with furniture that matched cars that belonged in the driveway, hosting expectations, neighborhood standards. The asset anchored everything else upward. It works the same way with cars, especially new cars. You don't just buy the car, you buy into the identity the car represents, and that identity has a running cost that never shows up in the monthly payment. Now let me address the argument I hear constantly when this topic comes up. Used cars break down. I don't want to deal with the stress. A new car is reliable. I get why people think this. I genuinely do. But the data does not support the fear the way most people imagine it does. Modern vehicles are built dramatically better than cars were 2 or 3 decades ago. A well-maintained car from a reliable manufacturer is routinely running 150,000 to 200,000 miles without major incidents. That is not exceptional anymore. That is expected from brands like Toyota, Honda, and Mazda. Consumer Reports reliability data consistently shows that 3 to 5-year-old vehicles from these brands have reliability records that are essentially indistinguishable from their brand new counterparts. And here's something that actually goes in the used car's favor that people rarely think about. Early production issues. Every new vehicle model has a small window at the start of its production run where manufacturing quirks, software bugs, and design imperfections show up. Recalls happen. Technical service bulletins get issued. By the time a car is 2 or 3 years old, those issues have been identified, addressed, and documented. You're buying something that has already had its problems surface and get fixed. Then there are certified pre-owned programs, which are genuinely excellent and criminally underutilized. A certified pre-owned vehicle has been put through a manufacturer inspection, reconditioned to specific standards, and often comes with an extended warranty, sometimes better than what you'd get on a base new vehicle. You are buying a car that is 2 to 4 years old at a price that reflects someone else absorbing the worst of the depreciation curve, with warranty coverage that gives you the peace of mind you'd get from new. The used car's breakdown story is mostly a fear that the auto industry is happy to let you keep believing. Because that fear is worth tens of thousands of dollars to them every time you act on it at the dealership. Let me now show you the full opportunity cost picture. The complete calculation of what choosing new over used actually costs when you run the numbers across a lifetime. Assume you're 25. Every 5 years, you buy a new car instead of a certified pre-owned equivalent. The price difference averages out to around $12,000 per transaction, a reasonable gap between a new midsize and its 3-year-old certified pre-owned version. The monthly payment difference averages around $175 after accounting for financing. If instead you had consistently bought used and invested both the price difference and the monthly payment difference into an index fund earning 8% average annual returns, here is what that looks like. After 10 years, you're 35. Your investment account from car decisions alone holds approximately $61,000. After 20 years, you're 45. That account has grown to roughly $175,000. After 30 years, you're 55, you're looking at approximately $413,000. After 40 years, you're 65. At retirement, that account is worth just over $830,000. Over $800,000. From cars, from the single decision of choosing reliable used over new consistently for a working lifetime. That is not from timing the stock market. That is not from a side hustle or a lucky investment. That is the result of one repeated decision made correctly, compounding quietly over 40 years. The new car ads will never show you that number. The financing office will never walk you through it. The trade-in department will never bring it up. But the math is sitting there, completely available, completely transparent, every time you sign. The psychology of car buying is something I want to spend a minute on, because I think it's the most important part of why this trap is so powerful and so hard to avoid. We have been conditioned, from the time we were children watching television, to believe that the car you drive is a direct reflection of who you are and how far you've come. There is no product category in American commercial culture that gets more emotional advertising investment than the automobile. The mountain road at sunset. The confident driver. The car that turns heads. The tagline that tells you you've earned it. They are not selling you transportation. They are selling you an identity. A feeling. Proof to yourself and everyone watching that you've made it. And that feeling is real. The new car smell is real. The pristine interior nobody has sat in before is real. Pulling into work in something that looks new and sharp is real. Nobody is pretending those things don't feel good. The question is what you're actually willing to pay for that feeling. And whether, if you had seen the full lifetime math at the moment you were signing, you would still have decided it was worth it. Here's what I have noticed about people who are quietly building real wealth. They tend to have made a specific peace with driving things that don't impress people. Not because they can't afford something newer. Often they absolutely can. But because at some point they did the math, and they realized the thing that actually makes them feel wealthy is not the car in the driveway. It is the number in the investment account. It is the emergency fund that means no single bad month can derail their life. It is the option to take a job they want instead of a job they need. It is the freedom that comes from not having every dollar already claimed before it arrives. The people who look the wealthiest often aren't. And the people who are quietly actually building wealth often drive cars that would bore you completely at a red light. That is not a coincidence. That is a choice. Made deliberately, with clear eyes on what the alternative actually costs. Let me give you specific guidance depending on where you're standing right now. If you don't have a car yet, and you're approaching this decision for the first time, this is the highest leverage moment you will have. Target certified pre-owned vehicles that are 2 to 4 years old from brands with strong reliability records. Toyota Camry, Honda Accord, Honda Civic, Mazda 3, Mazda 6. These are not boring choices. These are vehicles that will run reliably for another 10 years while everyone else cycles through new car payments. Get pre-approved for financing at your bank or credit union before you visit any dealership. Know your number before anyone shows you a monthly payment. If you are currently making payments on a new car, you are not uniquely stuck. You are in the same position as tens of millions of Americans. Here's what matters now. The decision is already made. What you control is everything forward. First, do not trade in early and roll negative equity into a new loan. That is the most expensive version of this mistake. Ride the car out, pay it off, and when it is paid off, keep driving it for at least 2 to 3 more years while putting the freed up payment money directly into investments. That move alone can close a significant amount of the wealth gap. If you are currently in the new car cycle and you have bought 3 or 4 new cars in a row over your adult life, run your own numbers. Look back at roughly what you've paid in total for each car purchase over 10 years. Look at what your investment account balance actually is. Then take a few minutes and calculate what that total spending invested instead would have grown into. Let the gap be real. Let it land. Because the future purchases are still in front of you, and the math from here forward is completely yours to change. And if you are in your 20s watching this before any of these decisions have been made, I am genuinely glad this found you now. Because the version of this mistake made at 25 and repeated every 5 years costs you roughly $800,000 by the time you reach 65. You have the chance to make a completely different set of decisions, starting with the next one. Before I close, I want to come back to Maya and Keisha. Maya is not a cautionary tale because she made a bad decision by some moral standard. She made a completely understandable decision in a culture that actively celebrated it. The commercials told her she'd earned it. The financing office made it easy. The monthly payment fit in her budget. There was no one in the room showing her the 40-year compounding math on what she was about to sign away. That is the real problem. Not that people make bad choices, but that nobody shows them the full picture at the moment it would matter most. The school system absolutely did not cover this. Nobody handed you a chart that said, here is what a new car payment looks like in your investment account in 30 years. Nobody sat you down and walked you through the anchor effect, or the depreciation cliff, or the new car cycle. You were supposed to just know. And most people don't. And the industry that profits from you not knowing has spent billions of dollars making sure the emotional appeal always drowns out the math. Now you have the math. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. That is the actual shift, not a specific tactic, not a spreadsheet. The shift is understanding, clearly and permanently, what a new car actually costs. Not just what you pay at the dealership, but what you give up over a lifetime of compounding. Maya and Keisha made their decisions on the same day. 10 years later, their financial lives look completely different. The car they chose wasn't the only factor, but it was the anchor. The car set the tone. The car set the payment. The car set the identity. And the identity set everything downstream. The investment account growing quietly in the background does not feel like anything. It does not smell like a new car. It does not turn heads in the parking lot. It will not get a single compliment from a friend or a coworker or a neighbor. But when you are 58 years old, deciding whether to keep working or start living, whether you retire with options or retire with obligations, the investment account is the only number that matters. That question gets answered not at 58. It gets answered at 26 or 29 or 33, when you're standing in a dealership or scrolling through car listings and deciding what kind of buyer you're going to be. Choose carefully. The math never lies, and the math strongly favors the used car. Your future self is counting on the decisions you make right now. Don't let her down.